Hello, friends and family around the world. Shraddha here. Thank you so much for joining me on my past videos and all the positive comments I've been getting from you guys. Last week, I was a little remiss in my daily commitments to doing videos, and there was a theme that actually popped up last week, and that had to do with not only theme for me in my life, but conversations that popped up with clients and with people who I was coaching. And this had to do with getting in touch with your self-authority, getting in touch with your inner authority. A lot of people look to the outside for approval from the outside. I know I was a professional outside approval getter with like strings of letters behind my name and a whole wall of all sorts of different certificates. But at what point in time in our lives do we really work with someone to have that self-authority develop? I always admired people who, regardless of what happened in their life, they had this sense of self-authority and that their voice mattered and that their voice and what they had to say mattered. And I'm just here to say that, what's evolving from you matters, what you have to say matters, and what we all have to say matters. And the more we share, the better that the world becomes. And this week I'm exploring a book by Thomas Troward. It's called Belief in Limitation, and there's a quote here. It's called Belief in Limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. This is awesome. Belief in limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. And this is from Thomas Troward, who's a phenomenal thinker at the turn, American thinker at the turn of the 20th century. And today what I'm reading to you guys from exploring some ideas about is yourself. I often joke and I say, I introduce myself as Dr. P, and I say, I'm not a urologist, but I'm a uologist. I help people get in touch with, more of, who they are and who you are and yourself. So today I'm exploring this chapter. It's called Yourself, chapter 11, from Thomas Troward's The Hidden Power. And these are universal ideas. These are really universal principles. Me having studied multiple different religions, being in different cultures, having moved with many different people, and many different, secular and even esoteric traditions. Ultimately, all these ideas, they come, down to a set of unified principles. And Thomas Troward is an absolute genius at discussing these issues. So, okay, so yourself. I want to talk to you about the livingness there is in being yourself. It has at least the merit of simplicity, for it must surely be easier to be oneself than to be something or somebody else. I mean, that's like such like a duh, right? Like when you read that, it's like, well, yeah, duh. But how many people really are courageously going about expressing who they really are, what they really want, and just being themselves? Okay, yet that is what so many are constantly trying to do. The self that is their own is not good enough for them. And so they are always trying to go one better than what God has made them, with endless strain and struggle as the consequence. Yeah, this is so beautiful, guys. I mean, we each have a seed of infinite possibility placed within us. And, and not being ourselves is akin to like, if you, it's akin to like putting a mango seed into the ground and that mango seed trying to turn into an oak tree, right? There's going to be a lot of struggle there and probably a lot of failure. Whereas if it just harmonized itself, which is what nature naturally does, if that seed harmonizes itself with the resources around it and brings out more of what is within it, it's going to turn into a mighty mango tree, and everyone's going to love it and the fruits that it bears, right? Unfortunately, as human beings, we cut ourselves off from the natural flow and the natural laws, and we end up being like that mango seed who's trying to turn into a giant oak, okay? So of course, they are right to put before them an ideal infinitely grander than anything they have yet attained. Okay, so let's go back here. So the self that is their own is not good enough for them, and so they are always trying to go one better than what God has made them, with endless strain and struggle as the consequence. Okay, so then one might ask, well, if I'm not trying to like get any better, then like at 43, I'm going to be the same as I was when I was like 23, which, you know, none of us want to be that. I mean, if you're the same at 43 as what you were at 23, there's something really wrong going on there. So, but Troward explains here, of course, they are right to put before them an ideal infinitely grander than anything they have yet attained, right? So they are putting themselves into an ideal grander than what they have attained. The only possible way of progress is by following an ideal that is always a stage ahead of us. But the mistake is in not seeing that it is attainment. Its attainment is a matter of growth, and that growth must be the expansion of something that already exists in us, and therefore implies our being, what we are, and where we are as its starting point. This is so amazing. This is such an amazing idea. You know, a lot of us always looking, oh, well, if I move here, if I move there, my opportunities will be better. I'll do better over there. When we're not actually looking within and seeing what it is within ourselves that is looking to find greater expansion and expression, and using the resources that are around us to feed that potential and grow. Okay, and wanting more or wanting to be something that you're not doesn't necessarily, there's a distinction here, right? It's wanting to be something that you're not yet is okay, as long as it's fuller expansion and expression of what is innately within you. This is why we say in the work that I do and in transformational coaching, and honestly, even in medicine, this is why the primary journey that we focus on is you understanding you, me understanding me. When each of us understands ourselves, then we can tap into our potential, that innate potential that's there. And that's different for me than it is for you, than it is for, you know, other people. You know, I had a class of, you know, several hundred people in medical school, and each one of us went through the curriculum, but at the end, and now, you know, oh gosh, it's like 15 years later, each of us are hundreds of different types of doctors. And that's not just talking about specialty, that's talking about how we express ourselves through our work, our career paths, you know, and all that stuff. So what you want to do is take what you are, that seed within you, and bring out more of that, understand who you really are. I was reading an article yesterday about mid-career lawyers, and a lot of people go into it thinking that, you know, there's like a certain ideal, there's prestige, you know, there's honor, there's all this stuff, all these kind of external things, how other people are going to perceive them. Yet when they get to their career, and it's typically about 7 to 10 years into their career, 5 to 10 years into their career, all of a sudden they're disillusioned because they never got in touch with who they really were at the beginning of this journey and clarified really what they wanted. And boy, this was at the heart of a lot of health problems that people would come in to my office to talk to me about, and it would manifest as hormonal issues, it would manifest as menstrual issues, it would manifest as pelvic pain, it would manifest as all these different symptoms were coming in. But when I got down to the root of it, ultimately our conversations had to do with, what do you really want? And who are you? Well, I don't know who I am. I didn't even know how to figure out who I am. Well, you know, that's why we have the personal development industry, and that's why we have, you know, coaches to do that. But really, I mean, just experience things and figure out what it is that makes you happy, figure out what it is that gives you joy. Okay, let's keep going on here. So this growth is a continuous process, and we cannot do next month's growth without first doing this month's. But we are always wanting to jump into some ideal of the future, not seeing that we can reach it only by steadily going on from where we are now. So you use where you are now just as a seed planted in the ground, uses where it is, uses the soil around it to harness more of what it really is, and then it creates a little sprout, and then a sapling, and then it grows. You also want to do that, you know, where you are. And, you know, unlike plants, I mean, we actually can geographically move, but you've also got to move in the mental space as well. So start where you are and plug into the resources that you have, and then keep the image of what you want, and then move steadily into that image. Okay, and there are many traditions that talk about this in many, many different ways. I love exploring things from multiple different angles. I feel like I get a perspective and insight on this with every text, with every scripture that I read, with every even articles. It's like sometimes even Hollywood movies can give you like really awesome insights about these concepts. So I'm going to continue. This video is already 10 minutes, which is way longer than I anticipated it to be, but get to know you. You're the most important person in your life. And when you know you, then you can see how the things around you can feed who you really are and what you're trying to express. And you want to look for those resources and keep your mind fixed on what you want. Okay? Not what you don't want. We live in an unprecedented time where literally we can make what we want happen more easily than it has been in the past. And just plug into this information and plug into the laws. And of course, I'm always here to help you as well. You can send me a PM and we can chat about this stuff. I can figure out how to help you better as well. Okay, and I see some of you, I'm working with you already. I love working with you, and it's just awesome because helping you is me being more of who I am. All right, sending you guys lots of love, and I'll talk to you soon. We're going to keep exploring chapter 11, yourself, for the rest of this week.